Today was the day she had worked toward for 3 years. Today, she would start her position as senior legal assistant at Sterling Enterprises, one of the most prestigious corporate law firms in the country. She adjusted the navy blazer she had bought specifically for this occasion and smoothed down her pencil skirt. Everything had to be perfect. This job was her ticket to proving herself in a world that had always told her she was not good enough. Growing up in a small neighborhood where dreams were often crushed before they could bloom, Jasmine had fought tooth and nail for every opportunity. She had put herself through college, graduated top of her class, now stood on the threshold of everything she had ever wanted. The lobby of Sterling Enterprises took her breath away. Marble floors reflected the morning light streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. A massive chandelier hung from the vaulted ceiling, casting prismatic patterns across the polished surfaces. Everything screamed wealth, power, and success. "You must be Jasmine Reyes." A friendly voice pulled her from her observations. A woman with warm brown eyes and a genuine smile approached her. "I'm Nicole Park. We'll be working together on the executive floor. It's wonderful to meet you," Jasmine replied. Grateful for the welcoming face, Nicole led her to the elevators, chatting easily about the office culture. "So, you'll be working directly under Mr. Sterling," Nicole said, as they rode up to the 42nd floor. "Fair warning, he's brilliant, but demanding. Actually, demanding is putting it mildly. He goes through assistance like some people go through coffee. I can handle demanding," Jasmine said with confidence she hoped she actually possessed. "That's what they all say," Nicole replied with a knowing smile. "But seriously, just keep your head down, do excellent work, and don't take his moods personally. He's like a storm. Loud, intense, but usually passes quickly." The executive floor was even more impressive than the lobby. Rich mahogany panels lined the walls and expensive artwork adorned every available space. The atmosphere hummed with quiet efficiency. Assistants moved purposefully between offices, their heels clicking against hardwood floors. Nicole showed Jasmine to her desk, a sleek glass and chrome workspace positioned directly outside the largest office on the floor. Through the frosted glass doors, she could see a figure moving inside. "Dot, dot, dot. That's his office," Nicole whispered, nodding toward the doors. "He usually arrives early, so he's already been here for hours. He'll call you when he's ready." Jasmine barely had time to set down her bag before the intercom on her desk crackled to life. "Miss Reyes, my office now." The voice was deep, commanding, and left no room for argument. Jasmine took a steadying breath, grabbed a notepad, and walked toward the frosted glass doors. Her hand trembled slightly as she pushed them open. The office was enormous. Windows made up an entire wall, offering a breathtaking view of the city's skyline. A massive desk dominated the space, and behind it sat Damian Sterling. Nothing could have prepared Jasmine for the reality of the man. Photographs in business magazines had not done him justice. He was devastatingly handsome in a way that seemed almost unfair. Dark hair styled with careless perfection, a strong jawline that could have been carved from granite, and eyes so intensely blue they seemed to see straight through her. He wore a charcoal suit that fit him like it had been painted on, emphasizing broad shoulders and a lean, powerful build. But it was not his looks that struck her most. It was the energy that radiated from him, an almost tangible force of confidence and control that filled the entire room. "You're late," he said without looking up from the document he was reading. Jasmine glanced at her watch. It was exactly 8 o'clock, her designated start time. "Actually, sir, I'm right on time." That made him look up. His eyes locked onto hers, and Jasmine felt a jolt run through her entire body. "When I call you, I expect you to be in my office within 30 seconds. I don't care if you just arrived or if you're in the middle of something else. Is that clear?" "Perfectly clear," Jasmine replied, fighting to keep her voice steady. "Though in the future it might help if I had advance notice of your expectations." Eyes narrowed. "Are you being smart with me, Miss Reyes?" "No, sir. I'm being practical. If you want me to perform well, I need to understand what you expect." Silence stretched between them, thick and charged. Damian leaned back in his chair, studying her with an intensity that made her want to squirm. But Jasmine held her ground, meeting his gaze without flinching. A ghost of a smile touched his lips, gone so quickly she might have imagined it. "Fine, here's what I expect. Perfection. I don't accept excuses, delays, or errors. Your job is to anticipate my needs before I voice them, to solve problems before they reach my desk, and to make my professional life run so smoothly that I never have to think about logistics. Can you do that? Yes, Jasmine said firmly. I can. We'll see. He pushed a stack of files across the desk. These are contracts that need review. I want a summary of each one, highlighting any potential issues or unfavorable terms. Have it on my desk by end of business today. Jasmine picked up the stack. There had to be at least 20 files, each one thick with documentation. Completing this in one day would require working through lunch and probably staying late. Problem? Damien asked, noticing her hesitation. Not at all, she replied, lifting her chin. Though I notice you said summaries. Would you prefer bullet points or narrative format? I prefer whatever is most efficient and informative. Use your judgment. That's what I'm paying you for. Understood. Jasmine turned to leave. Miss Reyes. She paused at the door, looking back over her shoulder. Welcome to Sterling Enterprises. Don't make me regret hiring you. I won't, she promised, and walked out with her head held high. The war begins. The first week was brutal. Damien Sterling was not just demanding. He was impossible. He expected her to read his mind, to know which file he wanted before he asked for it, to have coffee ready the exact moment he wanted it, prepared exactly how he liked it, even though he had never told her his preferences. Every task came with impossible deadlines. Every completed assignment was met with criticism, or worse, complete silence. He never praised, never thanked, never acknowledged when something was done well. But any mistake, no matter how small, brought immediate and sharp correction. By Friday afternoon, Jasmine was exhausted, frustrated, and angrier than she had ever been in her professional life. She had worked through lunches, stayed late every night, and given everything she had. Yet Damien treated her like she was barely competent. Miss Reyes. Intercom interrupted her thoughts. My office. Jasmine saved the document she was working on and walked into his office, notepad in hand. Damien was standing at the window, hands in his pockets, looking out at the city. He did not turn around when she entered. The Morrison contract, he said. You missed a clause. Jasmine's stomach dropped. She had reviewed that contract 3 times. Which clause, sir? Section 7, subsection 3. There's a liability limitation that's unfavorable to our client. You didn't flag it. I did flag it, Jasmine said carefully. It's in my notes. 3rd page, highlighted in yellow. Now he turned around, one eyebrow raised. Show me. Jasmine retrieved the file from her desk and brought it back, opening to the page in question. There, exactly as she said, was her notation about the problematic clause. Highlighted and annotated with suggestions for renegotiation, Damien stared at the page, his jaw tightening almost imperceptibly. For a moment, she thought he might apologize. Instead, he closed the file and handed it back to her. Fine, it's there. But your handwriting is barely legible. Type your notes in the future.
Ow.
Something inside Jasmine snapped. She had taken his criticism, his impossible standards, his cold demeanor, all week without complaint. But this was too much. My handwriting is perfectly legible, she said, her voice quiet but firm. And I found the clause you said I missed. A simple acknowledgement would be appropriate. His eyes flashed. Excuse me? You heard me, Mr. Sterling. I've worked my tail off this week. I've stayed late every night, skipped meals, and done everything you've asked to the best of my ability. I made one mistake on Monday, and I've been perfect since then. Yet you treat me like I'm incompetent. I deserve at least basic professional respect. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Damien crossed his arms over his chest, his expression darkening. You think you deserve respect after 1 week? I think I deserve respect, period. Not because of how long I've been here, but because I'm a professional doing professional work. They stood there, facing each other across his massive desk. The air between them crackled with tension. This was it, Jasmine thought. She was about to be fired, and maybe that was fine. Maybe working for this arrogant, impossible man was not worth it after all. But Damien did not fire her. Instead, He did something completely unexpected. He smiled. A real smile that transformed his entire face, making him look younger and somehow even more dangerously attractive. "You have fire," he said. "I was starting to wonder if you were too timid for this job." Clearly, I was wrong. Jasmine blinked, completely thrown by the sudden shift. "I'm not sure I understand." "Good work this week, Miss Reyes. Your analyses have been thorough. Your attention to detail is excellent, and you're faster than any assistant I've had in years. Keep it up." He turned back to the window, effectively dismissing her. Jasmine stood there for a moment, stunned by the whiplash of going from confrontation to praise in seconds. "Was there something else?" he asked without turning around. "No, sir," she managed. "Thank you." As she walked back to her desk, her heart was racing. What had just happened? Had Damien Sterling just complimented her? And why did his smile make her feel so off balance? Nicole appeared at her desk moments later, eyes wide. "What happened in there?" "You were in his office for 10 minutes, and I could feel the tension from here." "I stood up to him," Jasmine admitted. "And you still have a job?" "Apparently. He even complimented my work." Nicole let out a low whistle. "Jasmine, I've worked here for 3 years. I've never heard him compliment anyone, ever." She leaned closer, lowering her voice. "Girl, you either just made a powerful ally or a dangerous enemy. With Damien Sterling, there's no in between." As Jasmine watched Damien through the frosted glass of his office, she had a feeling that Nicole was right. Something had shifted between them in that moment of confrontation. The dynamic had changed. What she did not know was that inside his office, Damien was having similar thoughts. For the first time in years, someone had challenged him. Someone had not cowered or quit when faced with his intensity. And instead of annoying him, it intrigued him. Jasmine Reyes was going to be trouble. The best kind of trouble. The war between them had officially begun. Neither of them knew yet that wars like theirs usually ended in only one way, with complete and total surrender. 3 months had passed since Jasmine started at Sterling Enterprises, and the dynamic between her and Damien had evolved into something electric and unpredictable. They pushed each other constantly. Every conversation became a verbal chess match. Every project turned into an opportunity to prove who was smarter, faster, better. The office had started to notice. People whispered when they passed by. Nicole joked that the temperature rose 10 degrees whenever Jasmine and Damien were in the same room. But beneath the professional rivalry, something else simmered. Something neither of them wanted to acknowledge. It was the small moments that betrayed them. The way Damien's eyes lingered on Jasmine when she was focused on her work, completely unaware of his gaze. The way Jasmine's breath caught when he leaned over her desk to point out something on her computer screen, his cologne wrapping around her like a forbidden embrace. The way their fingers brushed when passing documents, sending jolts of electricity through both of them. They were playing a dangerous game. Dancing around an attraction that grew stronger every day. Then Blake Morrison arrived. And everything changed. Blake was everything Damien was not. Where Damien was intense and brooding, Blake was warm and approachable. Where Damien criticized, Blake complimented. Where Damien kept everyone at arm's length, Blake went out of his way to make connections. He was handsome in a classic way, with sandy blonde hair, kind hazel eyes, and a smile that put people instantly at ease. He joined the firm as a senior attorney, and within his first week, he had charmed nearly everyone in the office, including Jasmine. "So, you're the legendary assistant who tamed the beast," Blake said with a grin, stopping by Jasmine's desk on his second day. "I've heard stories about you." Jasmine looked up from her work, surprised by the interruption. "Stories? That sounds ominous." "All good ones, I promise. Word is, you're the only person who's ever stood up to Sterling and lived to tell about it. That takes guts." "Or stupidity," Jasmine replied with a small smile. "The jury's still out." Blake laughed, a genuine sound that made Jasmine relax. "I'm Blake Morrison, by the way. New attorney? 3rd floor. I was wondering if you might have lunch with me sometime. I'd love to pick your brain about how things work around here." Before Jasmine could answer, Damien's office door opened. He stepped out, his eyes immediately locking onto Blake standing at Jasmine's desk. His expression darkened. "Morrison," Damien said, his voice crisp. Don't you have client meetings to prepare for? All prepared, sir, Blake replied easily, unfazed by Damien's cold tone. Just introducing myself to the team. Well, now you've introduced yourself. Miss Reyes has actual work to do, even if you don't. Blake's smile never wavered, but something flickered in his eyes. Of course, Jasmine. We'll continue this conversation later. He walked away, leaving Jasmine staring at Damien in disbelief. That was incredibly rude. That was professional, Damien corrected, returning to his office. You're not paid to socialize, but Jasmine saw something in his eyes before he turned away. Something that looked suspiciously like jealousy. Over the next few weeks, Blake made his interest in Jasmine abundantly clear. He brought her coffee in the mornings. He stopped by her desk to chat whenever he passed by the executive floor. He invited her to lunch repeatedly, and finally, worn down by his persistence and charm, she agreed. The lunch was pleasant. Blake was easy to talk to, genuinely interested in her thoughts and opinions. He told her about his life, his goals, his love for vintage cars, and terrible action movies. Jasmine found herself laughing more than she had in months. What she did not see was Damien watching them through the restaurant window as he passed by on his way back from a client meeting. She did not see the way his hands clenched into fists, or the darkness that clouded his face. But she certainly noticed the change when she returned. To the office, Damien was impossible that afternoon. He found fault with everything. Her reports were inadequate. Her organization system was inefficient. Her coffee was too cold, too hot, too weak, too strong. Nothing she did was right. Is there a problem? Jasmine finally asked. Standing in his office after the fifth criticism in an hour. Several problems. Damien replied without looking up from his computer. Starting with your apparent inability to prioritize work over personal social activities. It was lunch, Mr. Sterling. 1 hour. The same lunch break every other employee takes. Every other employee is not my senior assistant. So I'm not entitled to a lunch break. You're entitled to whatever time you can spare after your work is completed to my satisfaction, which lately it has not been. Jasmine felt anger bubbling up inside her. My work has been excellent, and you know it. This is not about my performance. This is about Blake. Finally, Damien looked up, his blue eyes blazing. Excuse me, you heard me. You've been impossible ever since he started showing interest in me. Why? What possible difference could it make to you? Damien stood up slowly, walking around his desk with predatory grace. He stopped directly in front of her, so close, she had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. You want to know why it makes a difference? His voice was low, dangerous. Because Morrison is using you. He's charming and friendly, but he's calculating every move. He sees you as a way to get information about this firm, about our clients, about me. That's not true, Jasmine protested, but her voice wavered slightly, isn't it? Think about it, Jasmine. Why would a senior attorney be so interested in an assistant? What does he ask you about when you're together? Jasmine's mind raced back through her conversations with Blake. Now that Damien mentioned it, Blake did ask a lot of questions about cases, about Damien's schedule, about client relationships. He's just making conversation, she said. But the conviction was gone from her voice. He's gathering intelligence. And you're letting him because he smiles at you and brings you overpriced coffee? And what do you care? Jasmine shot back, her anger reigniting. Why does it matter to you who I spend time with? The air between them crackled with tension. Damien's jaw clenched, a muscle twitching in his cheek. For a long moment, he said nothing, just stared at her with an intensity that made her heart race. It matters, he finally said, his voice rough, because you're mine. Jasmine's breath caught. I'm your assistant. That doesn't make me yours. Don't play games with me, Jasmine. You know exactly what I mean. This thing between us, we've been dancing around it for months. There's nothing between us, Jasmine whispered, but it sounded like a lie even to her own ears. No. Damien stepped closer, eliminating what little space remained between them. Then why does your pulse race every time I get near you? Why do you blush when I look at you for too long? Why do you tense up every time Morrison touches your arm like you're comparing his touch to mine? You're imagining things, Jasmine said weakly, her back now against his desk. Am I? His hand came up, fingers barely grazing her cheek. The touch was feather light, but it sent fire racing through her veins. Tell me you don't feel this. Look me in the eyes and tell me I'm imagining it. Jasmine opened her mouth to deny it, to lie, to maintain the professional boundary that was quickly crumbling. But she could not. The truth was written all over her face. I can't, she admitted in a whisper. Something in Damien's expression shifted. The control he maintained so carefully began to crack. Jasmine, her name was half plea, half prayer. This is wrong, she said, even as her body swayed toward his. You're my boss. This could destroy my career. I know. His hand moved to cup her face, thumb stroking her cheekbone. I've tried to stay away. I've tried to keep this professional. But watching him pursue you, watching you smile at him, it's driving me insane, Damien. His first name felt strange and intimate on her lips. Tell me to stop, he said, his face lowering toward hers. Tell me to back away, and I will. I'll never cross this line again. But Jasmine could not say those words. Instead, she gripped the front of his shirt and pulled him the rest of the way down. The kiss was explosive. Months of tension, denial, and repressed desire ignited in an instant. Damien's arms wrapped around her, lifting her onto the desk as he kissed her with a hunger that matched her own. His lips moved against hers with desperate urgency. And Jasmine responded with equal fervor, her fingers threading through his hair. Every touch was electric. Every breath was shared. The world narrowed to just the two of them, to this moment that felt both inevitable and impossible when they finally broke apart. Both breathing hard, reality came crashing back. "Oh no," Jasmine whispered, touching her swollen lips. "What did we just do?" Damien rested his forehead against hers, his hands still on her waist. "Something we should have done months ago, or something we never should have done at all. I'm not sure which." "This can't happen again," Jasmine said, but her hands were still fisted in his shirt, holding him close. "The office policies. The power dynamic. This is exactly the kind of scandal that could ruin everything I've worked for." "I know." Damien's voice was rough. "But I'm not sorry it happened. I should be, but I'm not." A knock on the door made them spring apart. Jasmine quickly slid off the desk, smoothing her skirt and trying to calm her racing heart. Damien moved behind his desk, running a hand through his hair. "Come in," he called, his voice impressively steady. Nicole poked her head in. "Sorry to interrupt, but, Mr. Sterling, you have a conference call in 5 minutes? Thank you, Nicole." Damien did not look at Jasmine. "Miss Reyes, we'll continue this discussion later." Jasmine nodded, not trusting her voice, and fled from the office. In the bathroom, she stared at her reflection. Her lips were swollen, her cheeks flushed, her eyes bright. She looked exactly like a woman who had just been thoroughly kissed. This was a disaster. A beautiful, terrifying disaster. The aftermath of breaking rules the next few days were torture. Jasmine and Damien barely spoke except when absolutely necessary for work. They avoided eye contact. They made sure Nicole or another employee was always present when they needed to communicate. The tension was different now, charged with memory and desire rather than just rivalry. Blake noticed the change. "You seem distracted lately," he said, during one of their now regular coffee breaks. "Everything okay?" "Fine," Jasmine led. "Just a lot on my mind." "Listen, I know this might be forward, but there's a gallery opening this Friday night. Would you like to go with me?" Jasmine hesitated. Going out with Blake felt wrong now after what happened with Damien. But what exactly had happened? One kiss that they both agreed should not happen again. One kiss that changed nothing about their actual relationship. She was still just his assistant. He was still her boss. That kiss existed in a bubble outside reality. "That sounds nice." Blake's face lit up. "Great, I'll pick you up at 7. Jasmine did not see Damien standing in the hallway. Watching the interaction with an expression that could have melted steel, Friday arrived, and Jasmine tried to focus on her work despite the knot in her stomach. She had purposely not mentioned the date to anyone at work. It was none of their business. Certainly none of Damien's business. At 5 o'clock, she gathered her things to leave. Damien's door was closed, his light still on. Good. She could leave without seeing him. Jasmine. She froze at the sound of his voice. Turning, she found him standing in his doorway, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. "Yes, Mr. Sterling." "Where are you going?" His tone was carefully neutral. "Home. It's 5 o'clock. Usually stay until 6. I have plans tonight." Something flickered across his face. "With Morrison?" Jasmine lifted her chin. "That's personal." "Is it serious?" "That's also personal." Damien stepped closer, and Jasmine's traitorous heart began to race. "Don't go." "Excuse me. Don't go out with him tonight, please." "You have no right to ask me that," Jasmine said, her voice shaking slightly. "One kiss doesn't give you ownership of my personal life." "I'm not trying to own you," Damien said, frustration clear in his voice. "I'm trying to protect you. Blake Morrison is not what he seems." "And what is he?" "Trouble. He's connected to the Westbrook case, the one where opposing counsel is trying to dig up dirt on this firm. He's feeding them information." Jasmine stared at him. "That's a serious accusation. Do you have proof?" "Not yet. But I will. And when I do, everyone associated with him will be tainted by association. Or," Jasmine said slowly, "you're making this up because you're jealous." Damien's eyes flashed. "I'm trying to protect your career." "My career that you suddenly care so much about? The same career you risk every time you look at me the way you're looking at me right now." They stood there, the air thick with everything unsaid. Finally, Jasmine shook her head. "I have to go. Blake is picking me up at 7. She walked to the elevator, very aware of Damien watching her every step. As the doors closed, she saw him still standing there, hands clenched at his sides, looking like a man barely holding on to his control. The date with Blake was pleasant. The gallery was beautiful, the art interesting, and Blake was charming as always. But Jasmine could not fully enjoy it. Damien's words echoed in her mind. Every question Blake asked seemed suspicious now. Every touch felt calculated. When Blake drove her home, he walked her to her door. "I had a wonderful time tonight," he said. Leaning in, Jasmine turned her head, so his kiss landed on her cheek instead of her lips. "Me too. Thank you, Blake." Confusion crossed his face, but he recovered quickly. "We should do this again soon," maybe Jasmine said noncommittally. "Good night." Inside her apartment, she leaned against the door and closed her eyes. What was she doing? She was caught between two men, neither of whom she could fully trust. Blake might be using her. Damien had already shown he could not keep things professional. Her phone buzzed with a text. "From Damien, are you home safe?" Despite everything, warmth spread through her chest. She replied, "Yes." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, "Good. See you Monday." But Jasmine would see him much sooner than Monday. Because neither of them knew that everything was about to explode in a way that would force them to finally face the truth neither wanted to admit. Monday morning arrived with dark clouds and the promise of rain. Jasmine dressed carefully in a black pantsuit, armor for whatever this week would bring. She had spent the entire weekend thinking about Damien, about Blake, about the impossible situation she had found herself in. The office was buzzing when she arrived. Something was happening. Nicole grabbed her arm the moment she stepped off the elevator. "Have you heard?" Nicole whispered urgently. "Heard what?" Blake Morrison was fired Friday night. Security escorted him out of the building at 8 p.m. as Jasmine's blood ran cold. "What? Why?" Apparently, he was caught stealing confidential client information. There's talk of legal action, maybe even criminal charges. Damien had been right. Blake was exactly what he said he was. And Jasmine had gone on a date with him. "Oh no," Jasmine breathed. "This is bad. Gets worse," Nicole continued. "There's a mandatory meeting in the conference room in 10 minutes. Every department. Rumor is they're investigating who else might be involved." The meeting was tense. The managing partners explained that Blake had been part of a corporate espionage scheme, selling information to competitors. An internal investigation would determine if anyone else was complicit, even unknowingly. Jasmine felt sick. She had spent time with Blake, gone to lunch with him, shared coffee breaks where he asked questions about work. What if they thought she was involved? As the meeting ended, one of the partners called her name. "Miss Reyes, please, stay behind."
Al.
Her heart sank. This was it. Her career was over before it really began. But then Damien stood up. Miss Reyes works directly for me. Any questions about her conduct should be directed to me first. The partner looked between them, then nodded slowly. Very well, Mr. Sterling. Can you vouch for her integrity? Absolutely, and without reservation, Damien said firmly. Miss Reyes had no knowledge of Morrison's activities. If she had, she would have reported it immediately. Her loyalty to this firm is beyond question. And you're certain of this? Completely certain. The partner studied them both for a long moment, then nodded. Very well. Miss Reyes, you're cleared. But I suggest limiting social contact with colleagues outside work in the future. Of course, Sir, Jasmine managed. Thank you. Back at her desk, Jasmine tried to process everything. Damien had protected her, defended her without hesitation. He had put his own reputation on the line to vouch for her integrity. Miss Reyes, the intercom crackled. My office, please. Jasmine walked in to find Damien standing at his window, the city spread out behind him. He did not turn around when she entered. Thank you, Jasmine said quietly. For defending me in there? I told you Blake was trouble. I wish I had been wrong. Should have listened to you. I'm sorry. Now he turned, and the expression on his face took her breath away. It was raw, vulnerable in a way she had never seen before. Are you okay? He asked. Really okay? I know this must be upsetting. I'm fine. I just feel stupid for not seeing through him. He was good at deception. That's not your fault. Damien moved closer. Jasmine, we need to talk. Really talk about what's happening between us? I know, she whispered. I've tried to deny it. Tried to maintain professional boundaries. But watching you with him, thinking he might hurt you, it made me realize something. He stopped directly in front of her. I'm in love with you. Jasmine's breath caught. Damien. Let me finish, he said gently. I know this complicates everything. I know it puts your career at risk. I know I have no right to love you when I'm your boss, when there's so much at stake. But I do. I love your fire, your intelligence, your refusal to back down. I love the way you challenge me. I love the way you make me want to be better. Tears pricked Jasmine's eyes. This is impossible. The office policies. The gossip. If people find out, they'll say, I've slept my way to this position. Then I'll quit, Damien said simply. Jasmine stared at him. What? I'll quit. I'll leave the firm. You can stay, build your career without any shadow over it. I have enough money saved to start my own practice. You would do that? Give up everything you've built here. For you. Without hesitation, he cupped her face in his hands. You're worth more than any job, any reputation, any career. I love you, Jasmine. And if the only way to be with you is to walk away from this place, then that's what I'll do. A sob escaped Jasmine's throat. You impossible, frustrating, wonderful man? Is that a yes? I love you too, she admitted, the words tumbling out in a rush. I've been fighting it for months, but I love you. I love your intensity and your brilliance and even your impossible standards. I love the way you see through all my walls. I love the man behind the cold exterior. Damien pulled her into his arms, kissing her with all the pent-up emotion of the past months. This kiss was different from the first. Not desperate or forbidden, but certain and true. A promise of something real. When they broke apart, both were smiling through tears. So what now? Jasmine asked. Do you really quit? Let me handle that, Damien said. I have some ideas. The path forward that afternoon, Damien requested a meeting with the managing partners. Jasmine waited anxiously at her desk, uncertain what he was doing but trusting him completely. 2 hours later, he emerged looking satisfied. Come with me, he said. Taking her hand right there in front of everyone, whispers erupted immediately, but Damien did not seem to care. He led Jasmine down to the executive conference room where the managing partners waited. Miss Reyes, the senior partner said. Please sit down, Jasmine sat, her hands still in Damien's. Mr. Sterling has informed us of his relationship with you, the partner continued. He's also offered to step down from his position to avoid any conflict of interest. However, another partner interjected, "We've decided on an alternative solution. Effective immediately, Miss Reyes will be promoted to junior attorney. She'll work in a different department, reporting to a different partner. This removes the direct supervisor relationship." Jasmine's jaw dropped. "I'm being promoted. Your work has been exceptional," the senior partner said. "Mr. Sterling has documented every project you've completed, every analysis you've provided. Frankly, you've been doing attorney-level work for months. It's time you were compensated appropriately. We're also implementing a new relationship disclosure policy," another partner added. "What happens between consenting adults outside work is their business, as long as there's no supervisory conflict. We're not in the business of policing personal lives." Tears welled in Jasmine's eyes. "Thank you. Thank you so much." "Don't thank us," the senior partner said with a small smile. "Thank Mr. Sterling. He spent 2 hours arguing your qualifications and threatening to leave. If we didn't handle this properly," Jasmine looked at Damien, who shrugged. "I told you I'd handle it." As they left the conference room, Jasmine laughed through her tears. "You're unbelievable. Is that a complaint?" "It's a compliment, you impossible man." 6 months later, Jasmine stood in her new office, smaller than Damien's but all hers, organizing files for her first major case as lead attorney. She had proven herself over and over in the past months, earning respect from colleagues who initially questioned her rapid promotion. The whispers had eventually died down. Yes, people knew she and Damien were together. But they also saw her work, saw her dedication, saw her succeed on her own merit, arms wrapped around her from behind. "Working late again?" Damien murmured against her neck. "Look who's talking, Mr. I sleep at the office." And that was before I had someone worth going home to. He turned her around to face him. "How was your day?" "Good, really good. The Johnson case is going well. I think we'll win." "I know you'll win. You're brilliant." Jasmine smiled, reaching up to kiss him. 6 months together and she still got butterflies every time he looked at her like she was the center of his universe. "I have something for you," Damien said, pulling back slightly. From his pocket, he drew out a small velvet box. Jasmine's heart stopped. "Damien." "I know it's fast," he said, opening the box to reveal a stunning diamond ring. "And I know we said we'd take things slow, but I've never been patient about anything I want, and I want you. Forever. Marry me, Jasmine." Tears streamed down her face. "You're supposed to ask if I'll marry you, not command me to." "I'm not commanding. I'm pleading. Please, Jasmine, be my wife, my partner, my everything. Marry me?" "Yes," she laughed through tears. "Yes, you impossible, wonderful, perfect man. Yes." He slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her deeply. When they broke apart, both were grinning like fools. "So," Jasmine said, admiring the ring sparkling on her finger, "I guess this means you're stuck with me. That's the best news I've heard all day." Damien pulled her close again. "I love you, Jasmine Reyes, soon to be Jasmine Sterling." "I love you too, Damien. Even when you're being impossible and demanding. Especially when I'm being impossible and demanding," he corrected with a grin. She laughed. And they stood there in her office, two people who had fought against their feelings for so long. Finally, exactly where they belonged, in each other's arms. The war was over. Love had won. And their story, which began with rivalry and resistance, would continue with partnership and promise. Through every challenge, every triumph, every moment of joy and struggle, they would face it together, because some battles are worth fighting, and some victories are worth everything.